So I'm leaving in 2 days for the United States for good. I've been living in Ecuador for 3 years, and as far as how they've dealt with the pandemic, the worldwide pandemic, they've done a pretty good job considering the small country that they are and the very small GDP that they have. They've done the best they can. Obviously, there's no large gatherings. Sports have somewhat regained its prominence, still on TV and all, obviously. No large gatherings really to speak of. Stores are open. The economy's back to normal-ish. There's a lot of people that are out of work because of this. But we have to ask the question, is locking down the country, or any country, the correct way to do it? Or is there another way of figuring out a way to keep the economy running, to keep people safe, without destroying the whole economy? Because that's what's going on here. France may have to delay unwinding the COOF lockdown as cases plateau. Cases, not deaths. Keep that in mind. France was far from hauling the number of daily new infections down to a target 5,000. Seems like an arbitrary number, and the risk of a rebound in the European Union's second biggest economy remained high, Jerome Solomon, the health ministry top official, said. The 5,000 threshold was an early condition of President Emmanuel Macron for replacing a lockdown with a nightly curfew, allowing cinemas and museums to reopen and ending the need for people to carry sworn affidavits outside their home. Imagine that. Can't leave your home without government approval. Seems pretty draconian and authoritarian to me. Another condition was for the number in intensive care to fall below 3,000. Is that world or countrywide, it seems like? While that threshold may be met, the downward trend in the new cases has plateaued between 10 and 12,000. That the numbers have leveled off is not good news. A second government source said there's a link between shops reopening on November 28th ahead of Black Friday and stagnant numbers, adding that it is imperative not to allow people to become complacent. Interesting. So, opening shops up was what? I thought face masks, because believe me, you and me, France is one of those face mask countries, that was going to help. Oh, so there seems to be, there's a correlation that distancing yourself from people is the way to go instead of putting a diaper on your face and hoping for the best. We will not go as far as we would like to on December 15th. The second official said, adding that the government would consider options such as not reopening theaters and cinemas as planned on December 15th, as well as introducing an earlier curfew than 9 p.m. when initially envisaged. Wow. I don't think the virus goes, oh, it's 9 o'clock, let's go out. And then the people go, we need to go in because the virus is going to come out at 9 o'clock. It doesn't work that way, knuckleheads. France may serve as a cautionary tale to other European countries that after unwinding lockdowns are working out to ease restrictions ahead of the Christmas holidays. German Chancellor Angela Merkel told party colleagues on Monday that existing lockdown curbs with bars and restaurants closing shops admitting limited numbers as in France were too little to bring the virus under control. You goddamn daft morons. If you really, and I mean this honestly, if you really and truly want to stop a virus outbreak, you have to lock everyone down in their homes completely, and that's how you do it. But you can't do it. Can't. Because the unintended consequences of locking everything down is a failed economy. And then once the economy fails, people come out and get pissed off, spread the virus even more. It doesn't matter. So you need to look at how locking down is not good. Curfews aren't going to do anything either. But what you can do is do what they've sort of been doing in the country of Ecuador, etc. Limiting the number of people inside businesses. I'm not a proponent of the face mask, but they are here. Fine, whatever. Distancing. a good regime of hand washing and disinfecting, I guess, because here they even disinfect your tires. Yeah, tires on your car they disinfect in some instances, and even in another instances where before you walk in the store, they may spray you down with some disinfectant, which is kind of ridiculous because they don't really give you. They don't they just kind of go waft, and that's it. So, Solomon said the next few days would be critical when asked if it would be premature to further ease lockdown rules next week. We're facing a powerful wave. Again, you want to stop this, you have to lock everyone down for months. And the unintended consequences is a failed economy and a depression, and you cannot have that happen. That's worse than the virus itself. Eric Calmes, head of the infectious disease at Paris Hospital of Les Petits Salpêtriers, I think, don't know, told LCI television that if the French were careless over Christmas and year-end holidays, there would be a third wave of the virus in mid-January. I mean, what's your definition of a wave? Is it like packing the hospitals, sort of powerful third wave, or is it sort of like all the cases are still at 5,000? I mean, I don't know what people are expecting to think, that you're just going to shut down society. I mean, they didn't do that during the Spanish flu. So is that what we're going to do, to shut down all of society, hoping that you kill this off? And it's just not going to happen. The number of people hospitalized for the disease in France increased for the second day, the first time it has done so in 3 weeks. Again, we have to look back on what's best for everything. You can't, it's like they have like a one-stop solution for this. It's like, lock everything down. Well, then what? Failed economy, depression, more riots and protests? You can't do that. There are ways to do this. And I think that going about this way of locking down the countries, locking down your economy, destroying your economy, people going out of business, the rise in alcohol abuse, rise in drug abuse, that is not the way to go. Because you have a known quantity here. You have a virus. Okay, great. But guess what? You can't not let people go out in society. People are going to get it. What about the flu? No one ever talks about the flu virus. I wonder why. Is the flu, in fact, not around anymore? Oh, of course it is. I know some people around that have gotten the flu. Okay? Well, then what? What if people get sick from the flu? What do we do then? We lock everything down again because of COVID and the flu? Can't do that. There is a specific way to go about this. And like I said, making sure businesses stay open by reducing the capacity. I know, I'm trying to think of viable solutions here. You just can't just let everyone. You could, but then they're talking about the cases. They're not talking about deaths. When in here, if you look in this article, when have they talked about deaths? They didn't. They haven't talked about deaths. They talked about cases, hospitalizations, but not deaths. I wonder why. Because before it was like people didn't acknowledge the deaths, really. You're like, well, yeah, that's a lot, especially in the United States, Brazil, Peru, Argentina, Colombia, France, Germany. There's a lot of deaths. But the deaths sort of have kind of go, not I wouldn't say plateaued, but they're starting to level off, as per some of the sources that I see from Johns Hopkins University and their websites. But if you look at China, it seems like no one's have died. Interesting, right? They had 4,000 deaths and they just plateaued. Interesting. I wonder why. But there's ways of doing this without destroying the economy. Distancing, hand washing regime. I wouldn't go far as they do in this country where they disinfect your tires in your car. It doesn't necessarily do anything. But there are ways to go about this without destroying the economy and hurting and wrecking people's lives. But until then, I'm just one person even given an idea of what to do.